Finch, your host for HFK Presents 5 Minutes of History. What are we doing this week? We're talking baseball, yeah, da-da-da-da-da, and specifically the All-Star Game. This week, for the first time in 14 years, the National League beat the American League. Hey! This time it counts, fellas. Well, the All-Star Game. I wonder who came up with that and when it all started. I'll take you back in time. The year 1933. Chicago, Illinois. It's hosting its second World Fair, the Century of Progress, commemorating 100 years of Chicago being a city. And an illustrious reporter for the Chicago Tribune by the name of Arch Ward decides, wouldn't it be great to let the rest of the world see the finest ball players in our national pastime, baseball? That's right, he comes up with the idea for the first All-Star Game, and it takes place on the south side in a modestly named Comiskey Park, owned by Charles Comiskey. How about that? Amazing, yep. Well, it was a wonderful success, and it was played on July 6th, and I believe the American League won the very first time in an American League ballpark, of course. Now, that was the first time, and it went on from there to be a very successful series of games. Originally, didn't have all the hoopla it has surrounding it now. My gosh, they have 3 days of events. But who'd have thunk it? Way back in the Great Depression, a guy comes up with an idea to promote a sporting event. And it's probably one of the best known All-Star games to come along in all the major sports. Uh-oh. I'm looking at the clock. You know what that means? Trivia time! And today's trivia has to do with baseball as well. This time I'm going to talk about the World Series. And the first time two teams from the same city played each other in the World Series. Do you know who that was? It was the Chicago Cubs against the Chicago White Sox. And it was only the second World Series ever to take place. It was back in 1906 when many different things were going on, and the world was just on edge seeing who would win that second World Series, the Cubs or the Sox. Folks, I've got to tell you, the heavy odds-on favorites were the team with the best pitchers, hitters, and fielders. It was the Chicago Cubs. The Sox barely even made it into the World Series with a bunch of no-name players. When the dust settled and the bats and balls were laid down, the world was shocked. So were the Cubs. They lost to the White Sox. Go Sox! Oh, Cub fans, don't worry. You went on to win the next two World Series against the Detroit Tigers. But you haven't been able to win since. As a matter of fact, if you don't make it to the World Series and win this year, you will have the longest World Series drought between championships, and that goes to 102 years. Go Cubbies. Sorry, I'm a Sox fan from way back. Hey, did you hear that? Could it be? It could be. It might be. It is! It's Horatio, the town crier, with this week's question. Thank you so much, Horatio. Hey! Oh, and it has to do with baseball yet again. What are the odds? It comes from Ron in Janesville, Wisconsin, and Ron asks, who were some of the players in the first All-Star Game back in 1933? Well, Ron, the answer is people like Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simons, and of course, Babe Ruth, who hit the first American League home run in a World Series. And his manager? Well, some of you Little Leaguers might know this name, Connie Mack. That's our question from Ron in Janesville. And speaking of questions, let's keep sending them in to me. You know where you can send them? Well, go on to our website, hfkpresents.com. They have a little spot down there that says Contact Us, and in the comment section, put a question and say, hey, this is for 5 minutes of history. I'll answer that question in an upcoming episode, and you'll get to see your question answered via the internet. Speaking of questions, alright already. I'm really glad people are looking at the website. I'm really glad they're looking at our videos, but somebody's figured out it's not always 5 minutes of history. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 6. My goodness, I think the other time it was almost 9 minutes of history. That's just a title, folks. I'm not really going for 5 minutes of history, but if you want me to try and whittle it down to that, I won't be able to give you all this information I'm giving you. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Oh, before I let you go, I'm going to remind you of one other thing. This goes out to the colleges. I'm starting to book up, and the East Coast is really enjoying me for Constitution Day and that whole week, and actually the week after it. So colleges, I'm still available for you for this season, along with what you're booking down the road. So don't hesitate to give me a call, send us an email, or look us up through our videos. As always, I'm always looking for more questions from you in the audience, and I want to thank you so much for enjoying some baseball with me here today. Now, unfortunately, it's time for me to go so I don't make this 10 minutes of history. Alright? Remember, I'm Terry Lynch, your host for HFK Presents 5 Minutes of History. And remember, look out. History happens when you least expect it.